888-578-8890.
Welcome back. Imagine having millions of dollars to give away to charity. Sounds easy? Well, maybe not if you're running a big foundation. How do you make sure it goes to the right place and, in fact, that you're getting your money's worth? Should you give a bit to everybody or direct the whole thing at one focused goal? One man who can help answer some of those questions is Phil Buchanan, the president of the Center for Effective Philanthropy. Great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's start with what it is that you do. I mean, the fact that there is a Center for Effective Philanthropy suggests that this is kind of a growing trend. Was this something you recognized a market here?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interest on the part of major foundations to understand how they're doing. And so we provide data, assessment tools, and research that hopefully helps foundations understand how they're doing and how they can do better.
So how do you do that for them? Do you actually put private metrics onto this public charity and say there's a return on the investment, that the percentage that's being put through admin is reasonable? What are the metrics of success for you?
Yeah, if only it were so simple as calculating a return on investment. I mean, one of the great challenges in philanthropy is there is no common unit of measurement. There's no analog to ROI or profit. You could save a rainforest in Brazil, and I increased graduation rates in Toronto by 10%. We each spent the same amount of money. We'll spend our lives in dueling calculations about who had the greater return. So we try to help foundations understand, given their goals, given their strategies to achieve their goals, what are the right indicators for them to be gauging, and then where we can, we try to provide data to bring to bear some answers to those questions.
One of the things that you're getting at here is making sure that the dollars achieve the goals. That can be hugely frustrating just because there's a certain amount of overhead, even if you're Bill Gates and you run your own charity. What is the best way to make sure that the dollar you give is a dollar spent on the thing you care about?
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole focus on administrative costs is important. It's important to understand what the administrative costs of charities are. On the other hand, the fact is it takes people running nonprofit organizations who need to be paid in order to get anything done. And so I think the best thing to do is to look at what are you trying to achieve and to get as clear and focused about that as possible. Given that, what are the organizations whose strategies are most aligned with your strategy to achieve those goals, and then to fund them in a big way because they're the ones on the ground who hopefully have the best sense of what it takes to get results. And I think it's fair to push for performance indicators to understand, are those organizations able to show results, and if they are, then getting behind them and supporting them, including supporting their administrative costs, which are necessary to achieve impact, I think is the way to approach it.
Phil, let me ask you a philosophical question that's been troubling me regarding charitable giving. So I get hit on a lot. I'm an investor. I run a mutual fund company. We give a lot of dollars to charities. Often they're earmarked for the endowment campaigns. And I always ask a simple question. Show me who's managing the money of your endowment so I can get an understanding of where I'm putting my capital to be managed to perpetually see your organization go forward. And very often, they do a very poor job in managing money. And I say to myself, why don't I keep it myself, manage it myself, and just give them some every year? Is that the kind of question that more and more and more investors are starting to ask?
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly reasonable question. And that's one kind of question that people are starting to ask with respect to endowments. Another question, which I think is really interesting, that many are raising within large foundations and certainly interest groups outside of philanthropy, is what is the alignment or misalignment between where the endowment is invested and the philanthropic goals of a foundation. So we've seen some rather interesting examples of environmentally focused foundations that are working on a set of issues related to the environment while their endowment is substantially invested in the very companies that their programmatic staff are trying to hold in check. So one interesting question is, should the approach to endowment take into account the philanthropic goals of the foundation. That's a controversial question, and I would say in the majority of cases, endowments are managed to maximize return. And the fact is, most of the very large endowments do get good returns relative to the market, and they're professionally managed. But your question, I think, is a fair one.
All right, we're gonna run out of time, Phil. We've got to leave it there. Appreciate you joining us for this.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Phil Buchanan, President of the Center for Effective Philanthropy. After the break, donor beware. How to tell if your charity is not all it's cracked up to be.